In the utility sector, regulatory and policy matters aren't just about bureaucracy, they're the literal frameworks that shape the future of the industry. They define how quickly we can modernize the grid, whether we prioritize resilience or affordability, and ultimately, what kind of service customers receive. Those frameworks are something that Nick Wagner is familiar with from multiple perspectives. While he currently serves as VP Regulatory for Black Hills Energy, he spent over 7 years as a state utility commissioner on the Iowa Utilities Board, even serving a term as president of NARUC, the National Association for Regulators. This dual experience provides him with a rare and valuable insight around what it means to navigate the industry's toughest challenges. So these are perspectives he'll be exploring in full detail as the moderator for the upcoming Itron Inspire panel, From Regulator to Regulated, Perspectives from Former Utility Commissioners. But before then, we wanted to get a better baseline around how he's thinking about these issues and how that past experience helps him in his current role. So Nick, thanks for taking the time to connect.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So, I gave that super quick version of your background, but you have over 15 years of professional experience in industrial controls and automation in roles from controls engineer to director of quality management. So, what about that experience has been most impactful or has really helped you better contextualize challenges in this current role?
Yeah, I think in that role, it really kind of helped develop my ability, I guess, to bridge gaps between two sides. As an engineer working on a system, had to be able to understand what the customer was wanting, and then translate into that into what the customer got at the end of the day. And so just being able to look at that, and go through that process and take a very highly technical, or what may be highly technical to some, and get it to a level that's understandable for everyone, really kind of became part of my everyday routine. And that has kind of translated and carried through the work that I do today, at the utility, right? Same thing. I've got to, in some instances, take very technical issues and try to get them into a way or a description that someone who is not technical can understand. And whether that be from the utility to commissioners, or even there's times going from what are commissioners going to think and how are commissioners going to look at that, to translate that to our team to say, here's what we need to be thinking about as we're looking at this and as we're talking to our commissioners and looking for approvals in what we're filing in front of them.
Well, and I imagine that experience was also relevant in that regulator role when you were there. But even going from regulator to now on the utility side, I mean that's a further shift. Was there a big aha moment in terms of that shift from going into that regulator role or now transitioning out of it? Like, what has it been from your perspective?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's just how utilities operate. And even as a commissioner, you get pretty versed, especially as much time. I was there for a little over 7 years, which is a long time for most commissioners. But even just getting into the utility and digging in a little bit more, there were areas that I thought I had pretty well versed knowledge of. But then once you get to the utility, you're like, no, you weren't even scratching the surface. And one of those in particular is the impact of Wall Street and how Wall Street is looking at utilities. And that was an area, the whole finance side and how utilities are financed, I did not know, with my background, going into the commission. And so that was an area that I got very involved with, tried to learn as much as I could, and felt again like I was pretty well versed in it until I got to the utility and saw what it was really like. And I was like, okay, I knew about half of what the reality was.
So utilities always need to balance competing demands when it comes to resilience, safety, and affordability. But for regulators, I imagine it's not so much about balance, but about how safety is the baseline that is everything else is built on. Is that the case? Then, how did you think about this balance or what it meant to prioritize those as a regulator?
Yeah, I think as a regulator, that really is your overall role, and that is to balance all of those interests, right? Balance the interest of the utility and certainly safety, right? Utilities are required in most states by law to provide adequate, safe, reliable service. And so as a commissioner, you have to look at that and balance that with the customers. What are customers paying? What is the cost of that service? What level of service should you be providing, right? Just like everything else, You can spend as much money as you want to get the highest reliability, highest safety, highest, you name it, but at what cost? And so you really have to, as a regulator, look at that and say, what is the right balance, such that customers are not overpaying for the service they're getting, and at the same time, the utility has that opportunity to earn a fair return and remain a viable, financially viable company, so that they can provide those life critical services of natural gas and electricity and water.
So I mean, you really do see it as a balance. It's not about one taking precedence or over another, depending on the situation.
Yeah, you absolutely have to balance that, and that balance may change in different situations, right? If you have a utility that is in a situation where they have had some safety issues or they have had reliability issues, what are the things that are going to help them get those back up to par, or to what you feel and what customers feel is that reasonable level?
Yeah. What do you believe is the single biggest policy or regulatory hurdle that utilities face today when it comes to funding and deploying infrastructure improvements, especially for smaller municipal utilities?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if it's a policy issue, and it might just be, the speed of which things happen. For a utility, we have to go to the commissions to ask for recovery. Now, if you're a municipal or a rural electric cooperative, they've got boards or the city council that they have to go to. But that does take time. And so I think just being able to be nimble enough and quick enough as a utility to capitalize on some of those things, and to maybe change your tack a little bit. Overall, utilities are going to keep doing the same thing we're doing, right? We've got to keep the lights on, keep the gas flowing, keep the water clean, keep the telecom systems up. Those things are always going to be there. But certainly there are opportunities for utilities to move a little bit quicker in some of those areas, whether it's technology or changing the way that they approach different situations.
Oh, that's interesting because I mean, oftentimes the feedback is that it's the regulators that aren't moving quick enough, and or like the utilities want to move faster, but they can't because of the regulation. But I mean, that's not always the case.
No, I think certainly it plays a part of it, right? And I think that's part of the inherent nature of the system, and it's not a bad thing, right? We don't necessarily want our utilities going out and trying this brand new thing or that brand new thing before it's tested, because ultimately that can fall back on customers, and that can have a cost impact on customers. So there is some value in moving a little bit slower and being very diligent about what we're doing, and having the regulators there, that process is a slow process, right? When we go ask the commission for something, it takes time because it requires input from other parties, from the utility, from interveners, and those are good things as well, right? Getting as many parties into there to say, have we thought about this? Have you looked at this? What about this option? Those are, at the end of the day, going to create better decisions for everybody involved. And so that slow nature, I think, is inherent, but I think it also provides some benefit.
What's one current utility initiative or technology that you think regulators are underestimating or not paying enough attention to? And, how are you looking forward to your conversation at Itron Inspire to potentially highlight that or discuss it with the panelists?
Yeah, I think right now that the big thing on most everybody's mind, if you're involved with utilities at all, is just the huge growth in load that we're seeing from data centers, AI, blockchain, all of those. And those are historic, going back to this slow versus fast. Historically, when you look at those sectors, they're very fast moving. They want things tomorrow. And if you can't get it for them tomorrow, they're going to try to go do something. They're going to look somewhere else. So today, I think that's probably the biggest issue, is how do we move fast enough for them? How do we also, but still move at a pace that we're not going to end up somewhere down the road going, well, we shouldn't have gone down that path, or we shouldn't have done that. So trying to just kind of, again, balance that issue, right? And back to the balance of how fast we go, where should we go, and how should we accomplish it. But definitely that I think today is the biggest issue. And accompanying that is where does that load come from? How are we going to serve that load reliably, again, safely, while protecting some of our existing customers from high costs? Is there benefits for them? But at the same time, how do we serve those customers so they can do what they need to do? Because ultimately, the services they're providing are services that our utility customers are using in their everyday life as well. And so it's kind of a complete circle of how do we do this all together that provides the best benefit and most cost-effective way to serve all of our customers.
And how much of it too do you see as exploring the reality of that demand? I mean, we've seen the numbers out there, seen the estimates, but like, is that coming in the next couple years, or is that 5 years? Like, what's the reality of that demand? I've just seen a lot of questions about what's actually there and how
Yeah.
different people are thinking about that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a big question too. That's part of that. Okay, how far and how fast do we move without creating a large cost that now we have to absorb later that doesn't get used? I mean, I think there's a reality in those numbers. Those numbers are definitely now. I wouldn't say that the largest numbers we're seeing are absolutely going to happen, but we're seeing a lot of customers come to us. And we're fortunate. We've been serving Microsoft in Wyoming for over 10 years. And so we've had experience, Black Hills has had experience with those types of customers. And how do we meet their needs? How do we do it quickly at the same time protecting our retail customers? And so as you look at some of these numbers that are coming out there, they're definitely real. But there's definitely some inflation, I think, in some of them. As you look at those customers are targeting several different areas. And so you may see they're looking for 500 megawatts in 3 or 4 different areas. And so is the 500 megawatts going to show up in 4 places? Probably not. It's probably only going to be 1 or 2. But those are real numbers, right? For that one place that it does show up, that's a big number. I mean, that's the size of an entire city. It's bigger than the peak loads of a lot of the utilities that are out there. So they're real numbers. Trying to get a handle on what exactly they're going to be, what will come to fruition, I think is part of the things. One of the things that we're dealing with as an industry today, to understand what is it that we will have to do to be able to serve those customers reliably.
And you're going to get all the way into that with the panelists at the event, so we're looking forward to that conversation. But what are you hoping that you're going to be able to arm attendees with? Is it about kind of the best way to think about the reality of these numbers, or like what are you hoping are going to be some of the takeaways that folks can have coming out of that conversation?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just the cooperation, collaboration. We're not going to do this alone. Nobody's going to do this alone. And with our panel, we're talking about former commissioners who are now the utilities, and the lessons that we've learned being on both sides. And I think that's one of the big lessons that I've learned is we have to be collaborative. We have to have partnerships. There can't be an us versus them. We have real problems to solve. We may disagree on how we solve those problems, but ultimately, at the end of the day, what is the best approach? And I think we all want the same thing, right? We want what's best for customers. We want our utilities to remain healthy so they can serve customers. And so what are the best approaches to those? And so rather than, getting into a I'm right, they're wrong, or they're right, I'm wrong mentality, we have to come to the table and say, here's our problem. What are some solutions? And what are the best solutions that are going to be most cost effective at solving those and helping our customers, helping our utilities to move forward. Because ultimately we need, again, it goes back to all these services are what we need as individuals, as organizations, as families, as communities to grow and prosper and to be able to help our society as we move forward.
Well, and that kind of collaboration is just so essential because these solutions aren't going to make sense everywhere or to everyone. It's going to depend on what somebody needs to do, the size of the organization, the customer base, and there's just not one single thing. And all of that comes out of the sort of collaboration you're getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is, when we get stuck in and we kind of each go to our corners or whatever, and it's, oh, my idea is the only way. We're it's very short-sighted, and you're going to lose some things, and then because there are better ideas out there. There's absolutely different and better ideas, and in different circumstances, an idea is going to be different and work better or work differently. So yeah, just having that openness, and being able to come to the table, and have those conversations, I think is just absolutely key to moving forward in a positive way.
Agreed. Well, last question for you, Nick. Tell me something powerful, and that can be about the industry, about something some advice you've gotten over the years, or just something top of mind.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned along the way, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, but there was a speaker I saw at one point, and he basically, one of his key things was just be where your feet are. And we all get sort of caught up in what's going on, and we're looking at our phones to know what's coming next. Where am I going next? What am I doing next? What do I have to do for dinner? When do I have to pick up the kids? Those types of things. And this really kind of hit home for me over the past week. We were on a family trip, and uh, just kind of found myself starting to think about getting back to work. And I was like, I just had to step back and say, hey, you're here with your family, having a great destination. Be where your feet are. Take some time. Enjoy what you're doing. Don't get caught up in what's next. Just be where your feet are, and be happy with what you have, and in the moment.
It's such good advice. I've caught myself on vacation where all of a sudden I'm looking up like the next trip or we're going after this. It's just like, wait, hold on a second here. Like we're here right now. Let's focus on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because when you start doing that, you overlook things, and if you just step back and kind of take it in, that you just there's a lot of different things you see, and a lot of different opportunities, and give yourself those opportunities to learn new things, and take in take in new experiences.
Good advice and good perspective. Nick Wagner, really appreciate you taking the time. Looking forward to your panel at Itron Inspire, and we will talk soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.